Well, one Sunday, two elderly friends got in their car and drove off to church together. And they loved to carpool together, and they were headed to church. And the passenger was getting a little anxious because they went through a red light. And they're driving along, and a few blocks later, the car zooms through a second red light. And she's really anxious now and thinks, boy, if this happens again, I'm going to say something. And she notices the light ahead turning yellow, and by gosh, it goes red, and the car goes right through the intersection again. It's just, you ran a red light, it's the third one, what are you thinking? And the driver said, oh my, I thought you were driving. Some of you may remember Ernie Larson, this big, gentle giant. He would come and speak here sometimes. He was a priest at one time and then left the priesthood and got married and became a counselor and a writer and a speaker, and he worked with people in recovery. And he was just a phenomenal man with a really big heart. I loved it when he would come here to speak, and I've heard him in other places too. A question he used to ask is, who's driving the bus? You remember that one? Long ago, before I found Unity, and I still remember this, I had a nightmare one night, and I was in a bus, and I wasn't driving, and this little rickety bus was just making these hairpin turns on a mountainous road and breakneck speeds, and I was scared. And I wasn't driving it, and I don't know who was driving it, but it was really frightening. And I took it as kind of a wake-up that maybe my life was out of control at that point. And that's what Ernie would say, that who's driving the bus? It ought to be your higher power. Spirit should be driving your bus. So I went to Ernie's website yesterday because I know he just passed, and I couldn't remember how long ago it was. It was January 2011, so he's been gone from this plane for 4 years now. But anyway, on his website, his family must be running it now. There's a number of books and audio classes that you can take, but he has a daily kind of, what would you call it, just a little thing to read for the day, a little meditation. And yesterday's was so much like our fifth unity principle that I wanted to share it with you. He said, remember, learning is not the end of the road. Information is not transformation. The only way that information becomes transformation is to internalize it. We need to process this material, apply it to our life, and then start doing some work. Spring cleaning, that's work, isn't it? I know that it won't be spring for 3 more weeks, but I'm thinking ahead and optimistic. Someone this morning walked in and said, I'm ready for spring. Maybe we all are. I actually got the idea for this title of this talk from our little Lent booklet from Unity. One of the very first articles is an essay by Reverend Ed Townley, and it's called Internal Spring Cleaning. Spring cleaning usually means just a thorough cleaning of our homes, right? It's maybe a seasonal kind of maintenance and making sure things run properly and going through a checklist that things are done. It's an opportunity for us to do what some people call deep cleaning. Historically, the Persian New Year fell on the first day of spring, and it was also a big cleaning day in their culture. And the name of the cleaning day, when you translate it, they called it shaking the house. I had to shake rugs when I was little. Did any of you do that? Yeah, oh, still do, yeah. We divided up chores. All of us kids had lots of cleaning chores on Saturday morning, and we couldn't go anywhere or do anything until we got our chores done. But spring cleaning is a little bit deeper cleaning. It's more work. Things like pulling your refrigerator out from the wall and vacuuming the coils. Who does that? Do you? All right, come to my house, please. That sounds like a good thing. Shampooing carpets, all those kind of big things. And if you really want to get into it, you can go on the internet and look at Martha Stewart. She's got like a 3-page checklist of things you should do for spring cleaning. Wow. Reverend Ed Tonley's essay, he talked about internal spring cleaning. And he said that a lot of mental debris can accumulate in an individual's consciousness in a year. I believe that. Think about all you've experienced in the last 365 days. A lot of good, but there's probably a lot of unhappy and negative feelings too. Fear, anxiety, shame, guilt, thoughts of limitation, anger and resentment. Lots of life comes in a year. Painful memories maybe. And that sort of thing can pile up if we don't address it right away in our lives. Unattended thoughts and emotions. Let's call them dust bunnies. In our consciousness. They start to accumulate and affect our lives, so we need to take care of that. Reverend Townley points out that when we finish cleaning our house, we don't expect it to stay clean that way forever. Wouldn't that be great if it did? I would like that. I wonder, how many times have I washed a floor and then come back later the day and see paw prints across it? Does that happen at your house too? Cleaning is a repeat performance. It's always a process. And our internal cleaning is the same way. We can't expect to get it done once and for all. It's an unending practice. We're on a continuing spiritual journey of unfoldment. One day at a time, have you heard that? So we may learn about spiritual practices and tools for deeper and fuller living, but we've got to keep using them, just like we've got to keep sweeping our kitchen floors. Daily practice. So what are some of the tools that we can use for internal spring cleaning? We can clear our minds of mental clutter using denials and affirmations. Unity is a big proponent of denials and affirmations. So denials are statements of release and letting go. Denial is to declare something is untrue and doesn't hold power over us. When you're writing something with a pencil and you make a mistake, you flip the pencil around and you erase it, right? And then you start over again. That's the way denial works. Denials are like erasers. They're like vacuum cleaners for error thinking. Denials wipe away mistakes like a polishing cloth. So here's an example. If you're hurt by someone's remarks, maybe someone was sarcastic or critical of you and your feelings got hurt, a great denial would be, her words and actions have no power over me. If a certain situation stirs up maybe some fear in you, you can use a denial like, this situation can only bother me if I let it. No circumstance and no person can come between me and my good. I first learned about denials at Unity Village probably about 10 years ago. And I've been on the Unity path for maybe 10 years at that time, and I really knew a lot about affirmations and used them successfully in my life. I don't know how I hadn't heard about denials, but I was in a class, and maybe the last half hour of a 2-hour class, the instructor split us up into groups of 4 and said, work on your denials and affirmations together. And so every day for that week, I would meet with these same 3 individuals, and we opened up. I mean, these were strangers to me from different parts of the country. We opened up about what was really going on in our lives, where we were hurting, what we needed to grow and heal and stretch through. So it was very intimate. And I was blown away at the power of denial, how to use that. To use a denial before you make an affirmation. It just cleans the way, and it's extremely powerful. To claim that something had no power over me unless I gave it that power, that was life-changing for me. So after you use your denial, you fill in the gap with a powerful affirmation. An affirmation, and I know you know this, is a positive statement of truth. There's so much power in our words, especially when we repeat them. We hear more and more every day from neuroscience how important that repetition is to write those new neural pathways in our brains. So we write over the old beliefs with what we really want to hold in our consciousness. We say affirmations here every Sunday. Every single daily word entry has an affirmation in it. Our 5 unity principles are actually affirmations. They're powerful, positive statements of truth. I don't know if you've noticed, but out in the skylight room we have a couple different posters that state our 5 unity principles. One is the one that the children use, and the other one is more in an adult version. But the wording of these 5 principles isn't cast in concrete. We get to work with that and make it meaningful for ourselves. I want to share just the wording that you would find if you went to Unity Worldwide's website. The first principle: God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. 2, we are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. 3, we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. 4, there is power in affirmative prayer, which we believe increases our awareness of God. And 5, and this is what is just exactly what Ernie Larson was saying. 5, knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. Our opening affirmation today included a denial, kind of a releasing statement. We said, I let go of what no longer serves me. And then we declared an affirmation. I move forward with confidence and joy. So let go and clear away what you don't need, what doesn't serve you anymore, using those powerful denials. That creates a space for your good to come to you. And then speak your affirmations and see what happens. A number of us are taking a prosperity class right now with Mary Morrissey DVDs and CDs, and we meet every week. And Mary has a lot of actually physical clearing practices for us to do. She asks us to clean out and organize our wallets to show respect for money. She tells us to write "Thank you, God" on the memo line of every check that we write. She asks us to take an inventory of how we treat money and reflect on our beliefs and attitudes and what we think about money in our lives. And she also asks us to do a physical clearing in our homes, to just go through things and let go of what you don't need anymore. And there's giggling. And we learn the importance of taking care of our things. You know, if you appreciate it and take care of it, that's important. And this is all part of the law of circulation. When you let go of old things, as well as old attitudes and beliefs and thinking, then you make room for way more good to come into your life. John and I experienced this about 1.5 years ago when we moved. We had a very large home in Lakeville when the kids were growing up, and we downsized to a much smaller home. And it was fun giving away things. It really was. And we gave away a lot. And now what's left is very meaningful to us, and I feel lighter. What I kept really has meaning or function, or I love it, you know, and couldn't part with it. So when you clear out, you lighten up. Another important tool for spring cleaning is forgiveness, and I know I talked to you about this so many times. I think forgiveness is one of the most powerful spiritual tools that we have. You can move from this rigid, grumpy existence to a place of freedom with forgiveness. When you are able to forgive, it's like you're wearing a cloak that's made of a material that just lets things slide off of you. With forgiveness, you can live from this awareness of oneness, and you no longer give away your power and your serenity to something or somebody outside yourself. The past doesn't have a grip on you. You forgive, you release, you let go, and you move on. You don't waste another day in that cesspool of resentment. Just let it go. So do you wonder about your own spring cleaning? Are you thinking about that right now? What's the big thing you don't want to deal with? What's the dust bunny under your bed? Who's the person you can't seem to forgive? Or what really important relationship needs some healing in your life? What do you need to let go of? And this might require some deep cleaning work. But there are real benefits when you do that. So get ready for your spring cleaning. Release and clear what you've outgrown and don't need. We are always changing. We're always growing. And I was thinking about the oak tree. You know, right now when you look outside, these big, majestic oak trees, they're bare. They've let their old leaves, they've released them. They've dropped their leaves. And in a few weeks, we're going to see some tinges of yellow-green on the branches. And the new buds and the new growth is going to start popping out. And those are new leaves. They're not going to grow the same leaves from last year. It's new life. New leaves and eventually new acorns, and that tree is going to grow taller this summer, just the same way that we grow in consciousness. I love oak trees, by the way. And when we grow in consciousness, we're able to express more and more of our divine nature. And in order to grow, we need to let go of things that no longer serve us. Things like relationships we've outgrown, maybe jobs or homes or just unhealthy habits. We don't stay the same. We're not meant to stay the same. Nothing stays the same in this universe. Life is ever changing. And spring is around the corner. And that's good news. The divine light in me greets and honors the divine light in each of you. Namaste.